Welcome to Thought Crimes, everyone. This is your girl, Sincere, and I'm here with...
What's up, everybody? This is your man, Prince Solomon P. Solo in the building. All right, we're here to talk about Let God Sort 'Em Out. All right.
Album is fire. So fire, you know what, Prince? We got to drop the warning.
All
we
right.
got to drop the warning.
Yeah, the album is that fire, so we did the reverse. We got to be back, though. Now we got to get it right. Let's go. Warning. The Federal Communications Commission has determined the following content to be emotionally harmful. Snowflakes should not view this content under any circumstances, even if supervised by a G.I. Joe, Navy SEALs, Army vet, or someone with good common sense. The views and opinions expressed, including the depictions of persons of color, corrupt politicians, white people with or without a tan, haters, who have yet to brush their teeth, typing angrily in the comment section with hot breath syndrome, do not reflect any official policy or position of the U.S. government. This program contains graphic language, dark comedy, unique intelligence, creativity, a high credit score, and high blood pressure when triggered. This program has also been accused of racism, violence, misogyny, mansogyny, feminism, MGTOWism, defacement of celebrities, and of course, being a bully. Welcome to Thought Crimes.
We're here, everybody. We're here. Let God Sort 'Em Out. We're going to talk about the album from the CLIPSE, Pharrell's production, Malice, and Pusha T. And Prince, you mind if I take flight right now?
Yeah, go ahead. Do your thing. Go ahead. Start off.
All right, so there's 13 tracks, and anyone who knows about the number 13 in numerology, it also represents the tarot card death. And it's 13 over 4, meaning death in the emperor. The emperor represents the number 4. But what was so amazing about this album, they were talking about different forms of death. Like the first track is talking about their parents, even talking about death of industry associations, people who have died in the industry in hip hop, PNB, Takeoff, and also the number 13 represents change. So the clips were literally like talking about changes in their lives as well. And you also the features, my goodness, were really good. Kendrick, Nas, so many people, and Tyler the Creator. But I'm very impressed with how the clips stayed on theme for the entire album, for the entire 13 tracks. And the theme of death and change was really uh heavy and pronounced in this album. And I just wanted to bring that, up. I thought it was amazing. And also on the Blackout stream, Prince talked about how this is their first album in 16 years. And the number 16 in tarot cards represents the tower. So, an enlightenment. The tower is not only scary, yes, it can represent some scary stuff, but it can also represent enlightenment. So, just looking at this album, the 13 tracks, the themes, the esoterics, the occultism, the spirituality, the history, the amazing lyricism. I just thought that it's a really, not even good album. It's a great album. I'm gonna sit on it for some time, or whether it's a classic or not. But I'm gonna tell you how I feel. I feel it's a classic, but I'm gonna reserve though the official stamp until listening to the album a couple of times, because it's the whole album is fire. I don't believe any track is skippable. But again, love the occultism, love the history, love the different forms of death that was talked about, from them talking about their parents, from them talking about death of certain industry relationships with Pusha T and Ye, and death to certain people's legacies as well, death to certain people who set up. And then also Prince, when they became introspective and talked about did they contribute to death by, selling drugs. So I just thought the thematically was amazing. I thought each track stayed on point, and I just felt that they stayed on theme.
Yeah, again, I think the biggest takeaway that I got from this album is it's about legacy. And remember, one of the biggest selling points of the interest of the album of Let God Sort 'Em Out is the legacy of the clips. And we know as of recently, the way a lot of people have been masquerading around in rap music, they have not been concerned about legacy. People don't care about how they look 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, or even if they're going to be around long enough. In fact, one could argue that some of the industry acts or some of the plants that we see moving around, whether we saw with Tekashi, Lil Pump, and unfortunately, we saw legends that have great legacies in the genre of rap / hip hop cheaply put their legacies on the line to back these temporary acts. So these guys, when we're talking about, like I said, Pump, if we're talking about even aspects of what we saw with drill, look, there's drill artists. Maybe they didn't get locked up. Maybe they didn't fall off like a quote unquote Lil Pump, a one-hit wonder, things of that nature. But we saw a lot of them didn't get to live 2 summers in their career as rappers. And it's taking it back to where corporate America originally, when they looked at rap music, when they looked at this thing that black kids were doing in the inner cities, and they said there's no interest there. In fact, some of the people that were noted in history as musicians and legacy acts, Quincy Jones actually had to convince Michael Jackson to put some rapping on his album Bad, because at the time, Michael Jackson was like, what is this? It's just a fad. And to see how everybody has taken, and that came from a jazz musician great like Quincy Jones, but just to see where, the genre in itself has been cheaply sold out over and over and over till now the T culture is more prominent than the music in itself. This album, when I was listening to it, look, I know people, they run with classic right away out the gate. But what I will say, though, that we can have a conversation about, I do feel this is a masterpiece. I feel these are 2 masters. You can count 3 if you want to argue with the maestro direction of Pharrell Williams.
He was cooking.
Yeah, he was cooking. He was showing you over and over that I'm a transformative instrumentalist, director, maestro, and not only that, when we think about the clips, I feel the clips best resonate with Pharrell Williams on the soundboards. But I just feel this is a masterpiece album. I think it was a masterclass display. My personal opinion, I feel it's a university of how to conduct the craft of not only the culture, themes, talking points, subject matter, emotions, opening up at the top, like you brought up here, where you open up at the top with this thing about the birds don't sing, right? And then we close off on people not being able to sing, people that they also know, love near and dear, but also just kind of like there's this trapping of the voice. There's this theme of the voice of being restricted or having to correct messages, where even in culture, where Pusha T and Malice bring up, where even Nas brings it up as well concerning the pantheons on Let God Sort 'Em Out / Chandeliers, of people misusing their voice with their own messages. And there are things that can be deemed culturally inappropriate by corporate America, where when we listen to this album, Push and Malice are just being masterclass musicians. This is a musical experience. But then things that are deemed culturally appropriate are dehumanizing, when it concerns specifically even black people, black youth, black kids, just in general. So I find it fascinating that Let God Sort 'Em Out, there's this tapestry and a theme of, to me, about the voice, because both the opening song and the closing song
has to do with singing or not being able to sing, or singing, which is grieving. To some aspect, you can find at different points where both Pusha and Malice are lamenting grief over the culture, because look, I mean, we don't all the times get a chance to really see how vulnerable Pusha can be, but we do know he has historically been very vulnerable with his vulnerable brother Malice as well. And then of course there's the flashier stuff that they will talk about. But to your points, in I do believe that there is an endoteric message, an esoteric message here. But soul, this is what I brought up on our Patreon stream. It's okay for rap music and hip hop to have dexterity and depth. One thing that you walk away from Kendrick, Lauren, and even the Clipse, an aspect of soul and blues. Even the way on some of the people understate how much blues, contemporary blues, and post-transitional blues that Pharrell brings into his music, especially concerning the Clipse. And a lot of times the Clipse, even with their stories of, I was shooting in the gutter, I have a story for you, young man, about the long, hardened times that I went through. Don't make the mistakes I made. This is some of the messages they put out. But people understate how much blues is actually in their music.
Yeah, this album had a nice balance of ego and humility.
Yes.
A nice balance of light and dark. And even what you're talking about, where they did a nice play on, this is inappropriate for the culture. Like, okay, what they do by the execs is considered inappropriate, but there's certain things that are truly inappropriate for the culture that is considered appropriate.
Yes.
And
yes.
like, the hypocrisy, of it all. Like even parts of hip hop being considered disrespectful, and that is okay. But until somebody goes and do something that's a big no-no, of course they weren't praising Ye in this album. But for example, Ye said slavery was a choice. He said all these things about black people. Black people, a lot of them said they were done, but there were non-black people who were cool with Ye, who kept pushing forward with him. And then now that he's attacking their community, now they're trying to bring it back to black people. No, you felt it was culturally appropriate,
Yep.
but now he's saying hell Hitler.
It's culturally inappropriate.
Right.
Now.
So, and then sometimes the flip on it is, okay, when you look at hip hop and what people had to fight for, no offense to Russell Simmons, but we got to talk about this. Public Enemy was considered culturally inappropriate. At first, Russell didn't want to sign them, allegedly, to Def Jam. Chuck D, you follow us, you could correct us if we're wrong on that. But there are also people who just felt like, oh, what Public Enemy was doing with Fight the Power and all that was culturally inappropriate. So just to go back, I think this album is an amazing album. I give it a 10 out of 10 for me. Again, I'm gonna keep listening to it over and over again and get back to certain things. But again, the balance of light and dark, the balance of ego and humility, the balance of life and death, the balance of being comfortable with change and transformation while also carrying legacy. So the dualism in that, you want to, of course, maintain legacy, but you also got to understand how to change with the times without sacrificing your integrity or sacrificing who you are at the same time.
Well, yeah.
So I just thought it was a brilliant album, and the ebbs and flows. I thought all the features were amazing. Nobody came on this album and was underwhelming. Everybody who performed on this album with the Clipse, with Pharrell, they all did an A+ job. I know a lot of people are going to be talking about Tyler, the Creator, for POV. He did do the damn thing. He was out there fearless. I know it seemingly took some shots at Drake, the Birkin bags, and not just the Birkin bags, but some other things. But I just felt like everybody had a standout verse on there. I loved when Kendrick was talking about the Judases from his personal opinion and perspective, and saying he was still going to take over the West. I love like Nas talk about the ancestral realm and Panther and pantheons, and bringing the spirituality. I also love the beat switch in there too. That in the production, I
like that for both POV and that Chandelier joint.
Right, it was hot.
Yeah, it was both hot. Yeah, and Pharrell got busy, man. He's in some cases Pharrell kind of was stealing the show. a little bit.
Yeah.
There was some tracks that he was just outright stealing the
Prince,
show.
What I loved about it is like everybody had
Got a
moments.
chance to shine. Yeah,
Like Pusha T had moments where he stole the show. Malice
Malice.
had moments. Pharrell,
It's
Nas,
called a great movie.
Kendrick, like everybody had moments where they were like stealing the show
like-
on the album.
It's like Ethan Hawke and Denzel Washington. Jake.
It's like watching that or watching Heat.
Yeah,
You know, or watching
Heat,
any of those movies where
You said it right the
everybody
first time
was
with
just-
Heat. You don't have to go no further.
Right,
You know that's
everybody-
one of my favorite movies of all time.
Everybody
Yeah.
was just on point. The
Yeah.
background actors, the musical score, everything. The actors, the actresses, everybody's on point.
Even the tags. One of the things I do want to, take a minute to condense this down to about this notion of what's culturally inappropriate. Overall, what I'm walking away to is an aspect of censorship, is which they also have been talking about as they've been going on their press run with what took place with them with UMG/Def Jam, right? And notably, Pusha T said, he's been censored since 2018, ever since Story of Adidon, right? And I've had my criticisms concerning what went on with Pusha T, because I always say, well, why wasn't he able to capitalize off the moment, this, that, and third? But now, him and his brother Malice have been able to go on around and have, great conversations with the likes of Ebro and other people as well. And what they have been able to do is have a discourse and talk about corporate sabotage, censorship. When I listen to this album, I don't see anything that Def Jam claimed that they're going to be pushing as of right now that it doesn't seem like somebody's going to be able to make a better album than what we've actually heard here today. And what also, this whole thing about culture and what's culturally inappropriate, there's always something reflexively hypocritical there, because there's an aspect of our rap music and our culture that's anti-legacy. So then there's really, at times, there is no fixture of what is culture, because it's malleable based on sometimes just the mood of the people and even the mood of certain legacy acts, like we bring up with Tekashi 6ix9ine. A long time ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that was laughable because people had got over the hill of Vanilla Ice, and Eminem really had to fight to show people, look, I'm not a Vanilla Ice. I'm really a hip hop guy. Like, I'm really into that. Then we fast forward, then we hear legacy acts and legends co-signing on Tekashi 6ix9ine, and with that being the case,
man.
yeah, I mean,
I think that needs to be standards in hip hop. You got a dope legacy. You shouldn't be standing next to bums.
But see, like for you and I, we like, that's culturally inappropriate. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but then again, it's like, like Sin and I, we talk to you all, and some of you all respond to us, some of you all message us. You guys are on our Patreon, you guys hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, y'all email us at thoughtcrimes1984@gmail.com. But sometimes you just have to not care. And like what Kendrick said on Whips and Chains, you do realize at some point you don't give a fuck, because you do have to kind of live and let live. And I typically gravitate towards the art that I enjoy. I don't go and chase down every nigga that raps off beat. Like, I go look for the Let God sort of mouths. I go look for the GNXs. I go look for the To Pimp a Butterflies, the Miseducations. I like to look for the high-end stuff. And then when I want to have fun, I'll throw on an old Jeezy record, or I'll throw on a new Gucci Zaytoven, or the No Diddy joint by Gucci Mane. I think those things are funny. And I think those things can coexist in hip-hop. And they did. You guys got to remember, whether you had 2 Live Crew, or you had a Tribe Called Quest, or De La Soul, or you had Tupac, whatever era of Tupac you wanted, there was always this cultural existence of cultural diffusion, of people, dancing and having fun together. We're actually in a very, very, very overtly bigoted mood right now in this country. We see it in politicians. We see it in politics. Are you red? Are you blue? People are assigning their identities to forms of bigotry. And I'm not just talking about like Jim Crowism or anything of that nature. I'm just talking about if you just mention you happen to like something that's on the other side of where another person agrees or disagree with, they're completely disregarding you as a human. And we see it in hip hop. Remember, at one point in time, people were laughing at cerebral lyrical guys like Cannabis, to Kendrick Lamar, and then you had the other side of the game where if somebody came out and they did wanted to dance, sometimes the stuffy guys are like, "Yo, man, that ain't real hip hop." This, that, and third. And where we are right now, Malice and Pusha T are illustrating about what they've ran into for them and their quote unquote system of integrity between them as brothers, where they've deemed things as culturally appropriate. And one of the things that is a notion is the idea of an older MC. What can an elder rapper, because I believe Pusha's 47 and Malice is 52. You guys remember when Game came out with Doctor's Advocate, he said to Jay-Z, "You 38 and you're still rapping, And people used to like, yeah, man, y'all too old to be rapping. And now at this point in time, we're actually giving some of the best bodies of work from artists that are over 35, that are even over 40.
Well, I thought
Legacy.
Clips basically bringing death to the mischaracterization of their legacy was dope. Like from their interview rollout to say no, I mean, there was industry things taking place behind the scenes that made things look a certain way, but we know that we have always been culturally relevant. People was trying to make us culturally irrelevant, and I love the tenacity of it. And then even when Malice addressed, Big Perm and, talked about phase on, numbers was phase on, and talking about people who are trying to come towards their legacy, even with what they did with selling drugs. I thought that was a great spin, and I thought that was interesting. And yeah, to your point where you're talking about stands or people who they want their person to win over truths and facts. For example, we brought this up even last year. We said, look, people could try to say the Clipse is whack all they want, but even Drake on Duppy said he had a signature of theirs on a microphone. Even though the Clipse feel Drake do whack shit, even on the track Chains and Whips, Pusha T still told Jim Jones that, you trying to chase a feature that is out of your league. Drake is out of your league, even though we have problems with him. So I do think that sometimes fans like to make certain facts just disappear. Like you can't change the fact that the Clipse are one of the greatest MCs in hip hop, period. You can't change the fact that their albums and their energy in the culture inspired a lot of people, even talking about Drake. You can't deny the fact, the same time that Drake is a big star. You heard Ebro say he's a big hip pop star in the game, and he is. There are different truths that are reverberating that certain fans don't want to digest when they're in certain camps. Just like for the fact that Kendrick has always been lyrically dangerous, just like Cat Williams talked about. What is this surprise there? That how he took out Drake, no surprise there. He's always been aggressive lyrically, just like Cat Williams told the truth when he was talking with the guys. He said, no, I actually like Drake's music, but Kendrick, man, when we talk about, and I love Kendrick music, but taking the head off of someone, competition, when you do that. So I do respect people in the culture that like to tell either their personal truths or their true analysis of the culture. Stands destroy the theater and actually the drama of the different currents in history. Like what makes history thrilling is the fact somebody is up and down, the different engagements, the different artwork. And when you have people try to erase that, it makes the story boring. I like the way that the story is. I like the way that, at one time you see Drake and Kendrick, for example, collaborating with each other. And then we know the infamous Control verse drop. People got in their feelings. There was a wedge, and the wedge kept growing bigger and bigger to where they were both on opposite ends. And they both were comfortable with not messing, with each other. I like the fact that the Clipse was able to show perseverance, and a part of the story is that, UMG tried to censor them in favor of Drake. And then, like in Karma, you see Drake is dealing with UMG. So I like for people, like, as best as humanly possible. I know we all have our biases, but it's really important to tell the story as close to the truth as humanly possible, because it's more thrilling, it's more daring, it's more interesting. And this is what we got with the
Yeah.
Clipse album. We got an album that was daring,
Mm-hmm.
non-apologetic, being authentic, people saying their side of the story, their perspective, and I really enjoyed it.
It's a fantastic body of work, and realistically, some people just got to get outside. Some people need to go live and experience life. And sometimes with some of the artists, unless they do very, very, very good with transcendence, that means they can, take on the form, or they can understand the perspective of other people, even if they don't live them. They take on better themes of that nature. But a lot of times when an artist doesn't really live, they don't go through any ups and downs. They don't experience constantly the light and the dark, life and death, rebirth. If an artist doesn't do that, the artist is just not interesting. This is why a lot of times when you run into very dope artists, and let's say they just happen to get a lot of money, some of them pull through the flatness of that life, and then some of them don't, and they've plateaued. Sometimes once they lay down on silk sheets, that's it. You're like, man, well, that was fun. Let me see if I can go over to someone else. And CLIPSE story is about tenacity, and it's also about aging gracefully and not stopping. I think too many times, like I stated before, rap music in its current state, it's anti-legacy. Yes, there's trolling, there's fun, we have our jokes. Look, it would have been, could have been, but it's anti-legacy when you're trying to completely diminish, but you're trying to completely diminish the efforts and the legacy of somebody just on an artistic level, like Nas, or say that Lauryn Hill never did nothing, or that Big Boy doesn't mean anything, and it's just about Andre. And I says, well, you do. At that point in time, there is no outcast. I talked about this on the live stream, and it's not that I don't care about, if you feel like this is your favorite member, you know what I'm saying? People, that's fine. It's what fanatics do. That's what fan is actually a condensing of. That's what the shortening of what the word fan is. It's about fanaticism. And anytime you're around anybody, when they're fanatic about anything, you can't talk to them. Think about how many times you've gotten, just even look at kids, when they get fanatic about pulling up to their favorite fast food, and sometimes the mom will be like, hey, whoa, I'm just going in here for some water. Oh yeah, we about to get some pizza, right? You can't tell them anything. Well, adults act the same way, but the only difference is, instead of toys and TV shows, sometimes it's people. It's, I'm a fanatic about Drake. I'm a fanatic about Kendrick. I'm a fanatic about Tupac. You can't tell me nothing. I'm a fanatic about Beyonce. I'm a fanatic about Nicki Minaj. And look, there's always been fan clubs. There's always been groups. Look, Hitler got fan clubs. Okay, there's fan clubs everywhere. The problem is when you try to go through and you're disingenuous to the art, and you start burning the novels, you start burning the paintings, you start burning the books, like they did in Equilibrium, or what we saw when the Nazis started burning the books.
I like how you said that, like when you start lying about the art, displacing the art. Like what I like about even how Pusha T describes Ye, I don't know what took place behind with them because I wasn't there. But I do like how he says he's honest, like, Ye in the music, him and I are like this. Like, I don't like when people try to pretend that they never listen to an artist because they're in opposition with the person, or they pretend that everything the person does is whack and always been whack. I do respect the fact, like, that Pusha T and Malice and them, they're, like, really, like, they're great marksmen. And how Pusha T is like, no, except for the recent drops of Ye, but how most of Ye's career and as a producer in his catalog, he's been cooking. Like a lot of people in our chat was saying, of course, Pharrell has his own style, but they were saying some of the production that Pharrell was just heating up and cooking on was reminding them of like times when Ye was at that A+ level in his production. Times with what we saw with my beautiful twisted dark fantasy. How Ye's production was fantastic. Power and all that other stuff. So I just like, to your point, whatever went behind the scenes is what went on behind the scenes. But tell me the truth about the music. And a lot of legends lie. Like we saw 50 Cent standing next to Tekashi 69. Tekashi's whack. Why are we lying? Like, and this degrades hip hop music every time we say somebody hot when they're whack.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And look, a lot of times for us, and even I'm just speaking from my personal experience. Look, a lot of times when I say things, I'm like, look, it is what it is. Like, I mean, you can have your preference, you can have your. I'm sure there's some. You go in my stuff. There's some like, damn, Prince is. What did I say one time? And somebody went off in the comment section. I can't remember. It was when it was Young Thug did Pull Up on the Kid. And I remember one guy said in the comment, it's Prince, I'm disappointed. And I said, really? Nigga, shut up. That's my preference. I'm not
from
saying
the South.
Yeah, that's it. It's funny. But so it's Eclipse, right?
When
but
you
anyway.
talk about other things, y'all be forgetting. He from the South.
But listen, they got chicken noodle soup with a soda on the side.
From the deep South.
Yeah, when that little girl came out, I didn't like, oh my God, it's the end. The problem is, like, look how tyranny is excessive control. Look online, you all. People can't even like a damn picture without a group of people up their ass about it. And then talking about getting rid of them, right? You can't have fun. You can't have a conversation. It's a lot of tyrant, border blocking energy that goes on right now. And another thing that I like about this album, look, I'm going to tell you something real quick. We did a deep dive on Patreon. We played and we stopped and we listened to the lyrics that we liked. We replayed a couple of them. POV was one of the ones we replayed. I love the flip with So Be It Part 2. And we went to look, they don't miss. They don't miss. Nobody messes up anywhere. The only person or entity that messed up was Def Jam, okay, and UMG, whatever they had going on over there. But here's the thing about it. When people try to say, and this is what I want, at least if those people that are listening to take away from what Sin and I are saying, quality art, it's always louder than lies. When people initially was like, they was leaking, we had people tagging us, and I said, I know you can. If I told you I didn't want to hear that scratchy audio from Funk Flex, you know damn well I don't want to hear no leaked audio of Let God Sort Them Out. It's going to be all out of arrangement. It's not going to be sequenced properly. And some of the songs weren't even completed, but somebody leaked it, right? And then people was like, it's mid, it's trash. And you know what was beautiful about that scene? Because of the legacy of the Clips and how solid their projects were, did you see nobody flinched?
I know we did not.
Nobody flinched. That's like if an Outkast partial part of an Outkast album link, and it's like, yeah, it's mid and trash. I guarantee you the people aren't going to move because this is what we're talking about, legacy. Look how many acts have came and went just within the past 5 years, whether they died, unfortunately, like Pop Smoke and things of that nature. Look, Nipsey Hussle had one major debut album in his entire, quote unquote, almost 12 to 13 year career, but Victory Lap it's a masterpiece album that people says it's a classic.
Well, industry politics is what stalled, certain things.
There you go.
He still pushed through.
And it's the same thing that the Clips had experienced on this leg of their career again, because remember, they went through this with Jive as well. And they've told you over and over when they were sitting down with Ebro and some of these other people as well, they're telling you about the censorship of labels, specifically with black artists behind the scenes. That's something that they do bring up routinely on this album. And so, look, we just don't believe in lying about the art. If people ask us, well, if Drake does something dope, like if it's a quality body of art, I will tell you, then it's a good body of work.
Exactly.
I'm not a liar because I don't need people lying about our art when we do what we do.
We don't know none of these niggas.
We don't know them.
We don't know none of y'all.
I tell the story, and I'm gonna say it again about the situation with Drake, right? I was one of the people. I was not listening to Drake like that. I had listened to So Far Gone. I thought it was nice. I heard the other Thank Me Later, and I heard some of the freestyles with him and Wayne on it. I didn't like it. I said, I'm all right. That's cool. Moving on. I didn't sit up and bang on Drake all day. None of that stuff. Then I had a friend. They called and they said, yo, you should check out If You're Reading This Is Too Late. You would like it. I said, I told you I'm not. They said, no, I know you. You would like it. Listen to it. I called back. I said, damn, hey, yo, this one and Nothing Was the Same to me. I personally thought was the best bodies of work that I've seen Drake and his team deliver publicly.
To your point, same thing for me. I thought there was some good joints on Take Care. I thought what him and Abel put together was nice. I didn't like the official debut album from him though. But I really was fucking with Drake with If You're Reading This Is Too Late. With also what's the album with Worst Behavior and all that?
Nothing Was the Same.
Nothing
Yeah,
Was the
those two.
Same.
It was a back-to-back thing he pulled off.
And I didn't. I thought the mixtape
Dark Lane.
I thought it wasn't bad. And just like, I'm open to see what Travis got. I mean, nobody cares. Like, we're not from the industry. We don't know none of you niggas. So what game do we have to lie if an album is good or not,
Yeah. Because,
to your point, whoever puts out a dope album is whoever put out a dope album. And the Clips delivered.
a masterpiece.
We're going to do a live review on our Patreon for Iceman as well. But I got to say, man, everything about this album from the Clips, I love, and we love, and we're gonna have some other breakdowns. This is not an album where, it's a quick flip. So there's gonna be some things we're gonna, break down and our favorite tracks on the album and dissect things because they did a lot of occultism, esoteric spiritualism, talking about the ins and outs of the industry, history. People with their features also brought their stories. Like I do like that everybody brought like their mini stories. Like even Tyler, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler was saying how he feel he is going to outgrow his hero. We know one of his heroes, that's Ye. We heard story from Kendrick in that with his verses with the feature, like, people, Judases I'm dealing with, realizing through, like you said, going through therapy, realizing I don't care. And then you heard Nas, like the spiritual elder, talking about pantheons.
Oh, you
and
little niggas
Panthers
stupid.
and all this and all. So I like everybody brought in their stories, their angle. It's an amazing album. I really love it. I fuck with it, and it's definitely gonna be jamming. I'm gonna be jamming it wherever I go, and continue to listen to it.
Yeah, it's fine arts, and I will say this: I've enjoyed the packaging of the album. From, of course, the album cover design. I love the art, but also I like the media rollout, like the edits, and I'm not just talking about the interviews, but I'm just even talking about like the Ace of Trumpet lyric video is one of the dopest lyric videos I've seen. And these images, this montage of imagery of Black culture. It is like a reminder because things are so decentralized. The MTVs, the BETs, Tyler Perry being sued right now. There's so many things going on.
Worse.
Yeah, right.
I'm doing an interview with damn, I forgot the Hollywood. No, it's a Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah.
So he coming out here. He doing interviews with it now.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, he's on his media tour. But sitting there, we said that was going to happen. But anyway, look, what I'm saying is that because a bit of the art attention has been taken away from the art in itself, and of course, people are falling into. This is not the first time we've fallen into tabloid, British Jerry Springer culture. It's always been here. People have been gossiping since the people at the lower ends was gossiping about folks and their neighbors in Egypt about, did you hear about what was going on next door? And that's been going on. But what has happened in the process is that
the art ain't rising above it.
Yeah, and then you have the attention seekers who are not artistic. They act autistic at times, but the attention seekers, a lot of times they've been eating too much time up on the clock from the artists. And when Malice and Pusha T dropped this album here, look, it's a masterpiece album. I know a masterpiece when I hear one, right from the expectations of it, the nuggets they was delivering along the way during the rollout, and then they didn't disappoint. It's a very, very, very well written, very well performed album. And I love what Malice said in one of his interviews. He says, we don't do too much and we don't do too little. He says we look to just hit things just right every time. And it goes back to what you said about the precision and accuracy of both of the Thornton brothers, too, by the way. So,
it wasn't too much indulgence. It made you want more.
Yeah.
And, and also sometimes, artists can be indulgent. Shit, Prince and I be indulgent sometimes. People be like, "Y'all intro's too long." I like that.
Yeah.
And like, it would be me actually most of the time. Prince be like, let's condense a little bit. I'm like, don't put this one in there, put that in there. But
the people love it.
This is why you get editors and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But they did it right on the mark.
Yes.
Wasn't too short, wasn't too long. It was just right.
There you go. All right, and that's what she said. All right, ladies and gentlemen, any final thoughts? In you would? I give this. It's a 10 out of 10.
Same.
Yeah.
We're gonna have some more breakdowns coming to y'all, but just a couple of shout outs. Again, shout out to Knox. Someone said recently he shouted us out.
Shouts out to Knox Hill too, by the way.
Shout out to also Justin. Shout out to let me see. Oh, Fresh Out.
Shouts out to Fresh Out. Love what they do over there.
We love their show. Look,
Yeah.
I love
They
New
do.
Yorkers.
Yeah.
And especially the ones who aren't sensitive, because
Yeah.
Prince and I be talking shit about all regions when we be joking around.
Yeah.
But Fresh Out, they keep it purely
Hip
hip
hop.
hop.
Very optimistic hip hop energy too.
I love the yellow.
Clears that depression up.
Yeah, I love the spirit.
Yeah.
It gives me a throwback to when we used to get a lot of people who was focused on the best aspect of the music.
Especially before all of the Criminal Rico podcasts.
Yeah, the Source
Yeah, thank you.
magazine and all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
before it got personal with the Eminem thing and all that.
It was a little bit too
I
much.
feel Fresh Out. To me, I feel Fresh Out is one of the best platforms out right now on hip hop, having hip hop discussions and commentary.
I love the energy, the synastry too, by the way. Your designs and the topics they take.
I agree.
And they're always talking with a smile too. I noticed that with you. You noticed that? They
are.
always report with a smile. So shouts out to Fresh Out.
To Justin, I just want to give a shout out to Justin Hunt as well.
Oh, the company man. Yeah, man, come on.
He's
The
always
company
been on
man.
point.
You revealing his identity. He goes by the company man. You kept saying Justin. I said, who? And I was like, you mean the company man. You mean Batman.
Well, Justin Bieber dropped, so I couldn't.
Yeah, when you said shouts out to Justin,
I
I was like, with Justin beating his addiction?
Also,
shouts out to the company man player.
Shout out to IKO. I keep it objective.
Okay,
check them out. Check out our the think tank member himself, Pivot. Pivot has his own channel as well.
Thank you, Pivot. Shouts out to Pivot.
And I'm gonna tell y'all the name as Moss. So his channel is Moss. And then also shout out to the FBA Journal. And of course on our Patreon under the Share Your Channel section. If you have a channel that you want to shout out from us on our Patreon, we will shout you out. Of course, Walker as well.
Yeah,
straight from Canada.
Yeah, he out there.
And he look, his editing skills is on point.
Yeah, shouts out to him, man. He does the damn thing too. And shouts out to the other fellow Canadians and the Africans, South Africans, West Africans, East Africans.
Especially like a lot of South Africans mess with our cons. I love y'all.
Yeah.
Well, you mess with me, I mess with you.
Y'all have to mess with us because y'all gave us Elon. Y'all got to pay reparations somewhere.
That's the South Africans' repentance.
Yeah, y'all got to help us out somewhere. He over here destroying agencies and government. Y'all got to give us something.
Go ahead, come on. Let's break it down before we leave. Let's show the terror of Elon.
That will let God sort him out. Let God sort him out.
All right, guys.
We're done here, Sin. We did a good job here.
Yeah.
All right,
we're done.
fantastic. Again, hats off to the Thornton brothers. I think they did a fantastic job. They delivered a masterpiece. I'm going to be honest with you because I am a big listener of the clips as well as Sin. It's definitely. I'm gonna put it in there with Lord Will and Hell Hath No Fury. I got to take my time to figure out in what order. I don't know. I think it may mean more to me personally because of what they went through when we seen them at the zeitgeist of the height of their career, and then they had that everything went bad for them right after that Birdman stuff. And remember, Birdman had a 90-10 deal with Interscope. So that you talking about, because remember, what did they talk about? How people move, they do dirty things in the industry. And you heard what Pusha said. He said, "Hey, it's that same group. It's that same group to where we are today." And even Malice commented on it. He said, "Yeah, that's crazy." So, I definitely I would put in their discography. I definitely put Till the Casket Drop at number 4. But as far as like 1 through 3, Lord Willing, Hell Hath No Fury, Let God Sort 'Em Out. I don't know. I may move Let God Sort 'Em Out to number 1 for me personally because of their journey and them reuniting. And not all the times we get a chance to see, duos or even groups come back together successfully. I know Raekwon and Ghostface pulled it off with Only Built for Cuban Links 2. It's a dope album too, by the way. And we saw shortly before, Pimp C passed on that Bun B and Pimp C was actually able to make a classic before Pimp C transitioned as well. So, hopefully, we may see what we might get out of Outkast because they are taking some pictures all up and down East Atlanta. I've been paying attention. Look like Outkast is getting ready to roll out something. That's just my theory. I don't know why they're taking random pictures at different gas stations and stuff. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, you all let us know in the comments section below. Where do you rate the CLIPSE album, Let God Sort 'Em Out? What were some of your favorite tracks? And do you feel, is it too soon to call it a classic? Or at the very least, is it for you simply a masterpiece? Drop your thoughts below.
Peace.
To this day. To this day.
You shouldn't turn your back on me.
Is that a challenge?
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
White folks are nosy. They have specials. Nosy specials. Why does a bee make honey? You ain't a bee. Why do you give a fuck?
Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
If he dies, he dies.
Go to our Patreon for more. And don't bother me.